Reddit has millions of stories, but every now and then, you come across one that makes you stop scrolling. Tonight, I've picked out some of the creepiest ones I could find. Dim the lights, get comfortable, and let's begin. I was followed in downtown Long Beach last night. 3 strangers saved my life. I still can't hold my coffee steady this morning. My hands won't stop trembling, and every time I close my eyes, I see the same pair of shoes, scuffed white sneakers, matching my pace on the empty sidewalk. 2 nights ago, I almost didn't make it home. This is not a ghost story or a thriller script. This happened in downtown Long Beach, 10 minutes from the Pike to the Weston parking structure, on an ordinary Thursday night that should have ended with me collapsing into bed after one too many cocktails. I had spent the evening with friends at a rooftop bar near the water, the kind of place where the music is loud, the lights are pretty, and you feel safe because there are people everywhere. By the time we said goodnight, it was just after 11. I was wearing a fitted beige leather dress that made me feel confident and a little reckless, the kind of outfit that turns heads for the right reasons. Normally, I would have slipped on the strappy heels that completed the look, but the parking structure was farther than I remembered. At the last second, I changed into the black flats I keep in my trunk for exactly this reason. I also left my headphones in my bag. 2 tiny decisions. They saved my life. The streets had emptied out faster than usual. Long Beach nights can feel alive near the waterfront, but once you move inland a few blocks, the energy drops. Streetlights buzzed overhead. My flats made almost no sound against the concrete. That silence is what let me hear him. I was crossing Pacific Avenue, maybe a block and a half from the parking entrance, when I first noticed the man. Mid-30s, average height, dark hoodie jeans. Nothing dramatic. He was standing near the corner, phone in hand, but he wasn't looking at the screen. He was looking at me. Our eyes met for half a second too long. Then he stepped off the curb and started crossing toward my side of the street. Halfway across, he suddenly stopped, turned around, and walked back to the sidewalk he'd just left. It was such an unnatural movement that it jolted me out of my post-drinks haze. I told myself it was nothing. People change their minds all the time. I made a left onto Pine and kept walking, faster now, clutching my keys between my fingers the way every woman has been taught. I'd gone about 30 yards when the skin on the back of my neck tightened. That ancient animal warning. I glanced over my shoulder. He was there. Same man. Same hoodie. He had crossed over somehow and was now walking in the same direction, half a block behind me. The street was almost empty, just a few distant cars and the low hum of the freeway a few blocks away. No one else on foot. My heart started hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. I picked up my pace. So did he. I crossed to the other side of the street. He followed, not running, not calling out, just walking with that steady, purposeful stride that told me he wasn't lost or confused. He was hunting. Up ahead on my right was the side entrance to one of the parking structures. I veered toward it, praying it would be open. My fingers dug through my purse for the ticket. Lipstick, wallet, phone. Where the hell was the damn ticket? I reached the glass door and yanked. Locked. Of course it was locked after 11. I pressed my face close to the glass, hoping a security guard might be inside. Nothing. Just rows of silent cars behind the barrier. I turned around. He had closed the distance to less than half a block and was crossing the street again, angling toward me. The panic that hit me was pure and primal. I could feel my legs wanting to run, but my brain was screaming that running blindly might be exactly what he wanted. That's when I saw them. 3 young women, maybe early 20s, laughing and walking together about 50 feet ahead. They looked like they were heading toward the bars on Broadway. dressed up, phones out, full of that careless Friday energy, even though it was Thursday. I didn't hesitate. I sprinted toward them, heels of my flats slapping the pavement. "Excuse me." "Hey, I'm really sorry," I said, voice shaking as I fell into step beside them. "There's a guy following me. Please, can I walk with you for a minute?" They took one look at my face, and the laughter stopped. The tallest one, with curly hair and a black top, immediately moved to my left side, so I was surrounded. "Are you serious?" "Where?" she asked. "Behind us. Dark hoodie. Don't look yet." All four of us kept walking. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911 with trembling fingers. The dispatcher answered, and I tried to keep my voice low but clear. "I'm on Pine near the Weston parking. There's a man following me. He's been matching my movements for blocks. I'm with 3 other women now, but I'm scared." The operator was calm, asking for descriptions. While I was talking, I risked another glance. He had crossed the street again and was now directly behind our group, maybe 20 feet back, still walking like he belonged there. The girls picked up the pace with me. One of them started narrating quietly. "He's still there. Gray shoes. Yeah, he's looking right at us." We reached the corner. The light was red. Without a word, we all sprinted diagonally across the intersection. The second there was a gap in traffic, high heels and flats pounding the asphalt. He tried to follow, but the light changed and cars cut him off. We didn't stop. Straight ahead was a busy bar with people spilling out onto the patio. We burst through the doors, breathing hard, voices overlapping as we told the bouncer and bartender what happened. "He's right outside," I gasped. A couple of guys at the bar immediately stepped toward the door. The curly-haired girl stayed right beside me, her arm around my shoulders. For the next few minutes we watched through the window. And then he appeared, walking past the bar at a normal pace, eyes forward, hands in his pockets. He didn't glance inside. He didn't slow down. The second he was no longer alone with me, the mask dropped. He became just another pedestrian on a Thursday night. The police arrived 10 minutes later. They took my statement, the girl's statements, and drove the area looking for him. They never found him. Of course they didn't. He had melted back into the city like he'd done it before. I sat in that bar for over an hour, buying those 3 women drinks and trying not to cry. Their names were Maya, Sophia, and Lauren. They hugged me before they left and made me promise to text when I got home. I did. Then I drove back to my apartment with every door locked and the music off, checking my mirrors the entire way. I keep replaying the night. If I had been wearing heels, I couldn't have run across that intersection. If I had been blasting music through headphones, I never would have heard those footsteps sync with mine. If I had stayed polite and kept telling myself, "Don't overreact," I would have reached that locked door alone, fumbling in my purse while he closed the final distance. The worst part is how ordinary he looked. Not a movie villain, just a man who decided, for whatever reason, that I was prey. And the moment other people appeared, he simply stopped being a threat in public view. So this is my warning, written with still shaking hands. Trust your gut. The feeling that something is wrong is usually right. Don't worry about looking paranoid or rude. Cross the street. Join a group of strangers. Call the police. Make a scene. Run into the nearest open business. Do whatever it takes to break the pattern. And if you're a woman who loves walking at night like I do, because the city feels beautiful and free when it's quiet, please change your habits just a little. Take the headphones out. Wear shoes you can run in. Tell a friend your route. And never, ever feel ashamed for choosing yourself over politeness. I made it home because 3 strangers decided to protect me, and because 2 small decisions gave me the chance to notice him in time. Not everyone will be that lucky. Stay safe out there. My girlfriend doesn't want to be saved. She wants me to be her killer. I never thought love could feel like this. Like standing at the edge of a cliff with someone you die for. Only she keeps leaning forward and begging you to push. It was a Tuesday night in late October, the kind of ordinary evening that should have felt safe. Rain tapped against the windows of our little two-bedroom apartment, the one we'd painted together last spring. Sarah was curled against me on the couch, her head on my chest, legs tangled with mine under the blanket. We were watching some forgettable thriller. The killer had the girl pinned, knife raised. The score swelled. Sarah's voice came out soft, almost dreamy. "I can't wait for you to do that to me." My hand froze on her back. The movie kept playing, but the room suddenly felt colder. I laughed it off, nervous, awkward, the way you do when you're not sure you heard right. "Babe, what?" She just smiled, eyes still on the screen. You know, like that. The intensity of it. That was the first crack. Looking back, I wish I'd seen it for what it was. We'd been together 6 years. Met in college at a mutual friend's party. Sarah was the girl laughing too loud at bad jokes. The one who remembered everyone's coffee order and stayed up studying with strangers who needed help. She was kind, ambitious, the type who cried at animal shelter commercials but powered through 14-hour workdays as a social worker. I was the steady one, an accountant who liked routines and Sunday morning pancakes. We were boring in the best way. We talked about kids, a house with a yard, growing old together. None of it felt fragile until it did. The comments started small and got sharper. We'd be driving home from dinner on a perfect summer evening, windows down, her favorite playlist on, and she'd say, "Imagine if you just swerved off the bridge right now." Her tone was casual, like suggesting we stop for ice cream. I'd grip the wheel tighter and force a chuckle. Yeah, that'd be one way to avoid Monday's meeting. But she wouldn't laugh. She'd stare straight ahead, eyes distant. "Where you could pull over and choke me. Right here in the car." I think about it a lot. I told myself it was a kink. People have all kinds of fantasies. I tried to meet her there, at first. During sex, she started guiding my hands to her throat. "Harder," she'd whisper, then gasp it louder when I hesitated. "Don't be a pussy, Mark." Squeeze. Her face would flush, then go pale, veins standing out. I'd feel her pulse hammering under my thumbs and panic would flood me. I'd let go. She'd shove me away, eyes flashing with something between anger and disappointment. You never go far enough. I started researching. Late nights after she fell asleep, I'd scroll through forums and articles about breath play, edge play, consensual non-consent. I joined a couple of anonymous online groups. Most people talk safety, signals, limits, aftercare. Sarah didn't want any of that. She wanted the real thing, the irreversible. It escalated anyway. One night she took my hand and pressed my fist into her stomach. "Hit me, like you mean it." I tapped her. She rolled her eyes. "Harder." I did it again, still pulling punches. She wanted bruises. She wanted to feel it the next day at work. When I refused to black her eye, she stopped talking to me for 2 days. The knives came later. We were in the kitchen after dinner. She pulled the smallest paring knife from the block and placed the tip just above her belly button, right where her shirt rode up. "Just a little. I'll tell you when to stop." My mouth went dry. "Sarah, this is insane. Please." Her voice cracked with need. "I trust you." I pressed. The blade dimpled her skin, then broke it. A thin line of blood welled up. She moaned, not in pain, but something deeper, almost sexual. I pulled back, nauseous. She grabbed my wrist and pushed the knife deeper. Blood trickled down her stomach, soaking into her waistband. Her breathing was ragged, excited. I finally yanked the knife away and slammed it in the sink, hands shaking. After that, the distance grew. She started coming home later. First it was 10 p.m., then midnight. She'd walk through the door with a split lip or fingerprints on her neck. One night her eye was swollen shut. Another time she had a broken wrist. She told the ER it was a fall. I knew better. I could smell other men on her. Cheap cologne and smoke and shame. "I wanted to be you," she'd say, crying in our bed while I cleaned her wounds. "They don't love me." "You do. Only you can really do it right." I begged her to see someone. A therapist. A doctor. Maybe this was depression or trauma from her childhood she'd never fully shared. She'd nod, say she would, then cancel the appointments. I went alone once. The therapist asked if I felt safe. I laughed bitterly. Safe? I was terrified of her. Terrified for her. Terrified of what I might become if I kept saying no. Our friends noticed something was wrong. We stopped going out. I made excuses, work stress, her busy caseload. At night, I'd lie awake listening to her breathe, wondering if tonight would be the night she pushed me past the breaking point. Or worse, if she'd find someone who wouldn't stop. Last week was the worst. She came home at 3 a.m., face battered, shirt torn, fresh cuts on her arms that definitely weren't from her. She crawled into bed still bleeding and pressed herself against me. "Do it, Mark," she whispered. "End it. I'm so tired of waiting. I love you. I want you to be the last thing I feel." I held her while she cried herself to sleep, her blood staining our sheets. I stared at the ceiling for hours. This morning I called in sick to work. I've been sitting here at the kitchen table, the same paring knife cleaned and lying in front of me. The apartment is quiet except for the rain that started again. Sarah's still sleeping in the other room, peaceful for once. I keep turning it over in my mind. The girl I fell in love with, the one who wanted a future, versus the woman who's slowly killing herself through other people's hands because I won't do it. I don't know how we got here. I don't know if I can keep watching her destroy herself. And I don't know if I have the strength to give her what she says she needs. But the knife is here, and so is she, and something has to break. We got a great deal on an apartment because the previous tenant fled in the middle of the night. We should have asked why. I still wake up some nights hearing those footsteps. Not in the hotel room where I'm writing this now, safe for the moment, but in my head, heavy, deliberate, dragging slightly on the cheap hallway carpet. The kind of sound you tell yourself is the building settling, or the neighbors upstairs, or your own imagination after too many sleepless nights. But it wasn't any of those things. It started the day we moved in. The super had warned us, in his offhand way, that the previous tenant had left in a hurry. Middle of the night kind of thing, he muttered while handing over the keys. Didn't even ask for the security deposit back. Sarah and I exchanged a quick look, but didn't press. In this city, people vanish from apartments for all kinds of reasons. Lost jobs, bad breakups, overdue rent, family emergencies. The rent was almost $400 below market for the neighborhood. That was all the explanation we needed. We had been crammed in a one-bedroom with two small kids for far too long. Charlie, 5, and Emma, 3, deserved their own rooms. Sarah and I deserved a bathroom that wasn't shared with strangers down the hall. So we signed the lease that same afternoon. The first week was pure relief. The apartment smelled of fresh paint and new beginnings. Sunlight poured through the living room windows in the mornings. The kids tore up and down the hallway like it was their own private racetrack. Charlie, especially, was obsessed with exploring every inch. That's how he found the little door. It was at the very back of the hall closet, behind a false panel that looked like part of the wall. A small, rectangular access hatch, maybe 2 feet by 3, painted the same off-white as everything else. "Daddy, what's in there?" he kept asking. I knelt down, gave the latch a tug. It was stuck. "Probably just pipes or electrical," I told him. "Nothing exciting. Leave it alone." He didn't believe me. Kids never do. By the second week, the noises started. At first they were small. The toilet flushing at 3:17 a.m. when everyone was asleep. Water running in the kitchen sink for 10 or 15 seconds, then stopping. Footsteps in the hallway, slow, measured, when both kids were down and Sarah and I were in bed. I told myself it was an old building doing old building things. Pipes expanding and contracting. Air in the vents. Neighbors on the other side of thin walls. I even stayed up one night with a notebook, tracking every sound. I checked the maintenance logs. Nothing. I didn't tell Sarah. Her mother had just been diagnosed with early-stage dementia, and Sarah was already carrying too much. Work was stressful for both of us. We were finally catching our breath financially. I didn't want to ruin that with "the building makes weird noises." Then Charlie started talking about the man. It was over breakfast, cereal getting soggy. "The man in the gray shirt walked by my room again last night," he said casually, like he was reporting the weather. "He walked slow. He looked at me, but didn't say anything." Sarah froze with her coffee halfway to her lips. I forced a laugh. "Buddy, that was just a dream. New house, new dreams. Happens to everyone." Charlie shook his head. "He's real, Daddy. He smells like old clothes." Sarah and I locked eyes across the table. Neither of us had slept more than 4 hours straight in days. We chalked it up to adjustment stress and changed the subject. Week 4, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I woke at 2:12 a.m. to the sound of footsteps again, closer this time, moving from the living room toward the kids' bedrooms. Not creaks, not imagination, real weight on the floor. I slipped out of bed, heart hammering, and grabbed the aluminum baseball bat I'd stashed under the mattress weeks earlier. The hallway was dark except for the faint green glow of the night light in Emma's room. The footsteps stopped. I stood there in my boxers, bat raised, feeling ridiculous and terrified at the same time. Then I noticed the closet door, the one with the little access hatch, was open, just a crack. I had closed it that afternoon. I know I did. I walked over, every nerve screaming. I pulled the door wider. The hatch at the back was shut. I closed the closet door firmly, wedged a chair against it, and went back to bed. I didn't sleep again that night. Sarah broke first. At 4:07 a.m. the following week, she shook me awake, her face wet with tears, phone flashlight trembling in her hand. "There's someone above us," she whispered. "Listen." We lay there in the dark. Then it came, slow, deliberate scratching directly overhead, moving from the hallway toward our bedroom. Not rodents. Too heavy, too purposeful, like fingernails dragging across wood or drywall from the other side. The sound made my stomach drop. The next morning I called the super. "There's no crawl space up there," he said flatly. "Ceilings are sealed. Always have been." I described the little door in the hall closet. He went quiet for a long second. "Don't open that," he said. "Why not?" "Just don't. It's storage. Private. Not for tenants." I asked who had access. He said no one. When I mentioned the footprints in the dust on the closet floor leading straight to the hatch, he hung up. That was the day I lied to Sarah. I told her I had to work late on a project. Instead, once she and the kids left for her mother's, I went straight to the closet with a flashlight and a screwdriver. My hands were shaking so badly it took 3 tries to get the hatch open. The space behind it wasn't pipes. It wasn't storage. It was a room, roughly 6 by 8 feet, maybe less. Built into the void between walls and floors, someone had clearly carved it out over time. Low ceiling, no windows, a thin, stained mattress on the floor, plastic containers with old food remnants, a battery-powered fan, a stack of paperback books, mostly thrillers, a backpack with clothes that smelled of sweat and unwashed fabric, and on the far wall, taped carefully in a grid, photos. Dozens of them. Sarah pushing the cart at the grocery store, Charlie on the playground at school, Emma in her stroller at the park, me walking our dog late at night, all taken from outside our windows, through gaps in the blinds. Some at night, with the flash off, grainy but unmistakable. The man had been living here the entire time we'd been unpacking boxes, reading bedtime stories, making love quietly so we wouldn't wake the kids. Watching us, learning our routines. I backed out so fast I cracked my head on the hatch frame. Blood trickled down my forehead. I didn't care. I called 911. The police came. They searched the hidden room. The mattress was still warm. One officer found fresh footprints in the dust leading out of the hatch and down the hallway, toward our front door. The intruder had been inside the walls when I crawled in. He had slipped out while I was still in there, stunned by what I'd found. They never caught him that day. He had a key to our apartment. The super finally admitted, under pressure, that the previous tenant had complained about noises in the walls for months before he fled. Management had done nothing. The building was old. Repairs were expensive. Tenants came and went. We're out now. Sarah and the kids are staying with her mother. I'm in this hotel, jumping at every sound in the hallway. The police say they're still investigating, but I know how these things go. The man in the gray shirt is still out there. He knows our faces. He knows our children's names. He knows how we live. And the worst part, the thing that keeps me staring at the ceiling every night, is that he might not have been the only one. Buildings like that have long memories and thin walls. If you're looking for a new place, do me a favor. When the super says the last tenant left in a hurry, ask why. Then keep asking until someone gives you a real answer. Because some doors should never be opened. Felt pure hatred for a stranger in my dream and woke up to her standing in my room. I never thought a single dream could leave fingerprints on your soul. It started in an open field under a washed-out gray sky. The grass was damp and cold against my ankles, the kind of damp that seeps through your shoes and makes you question why you're even there. I was standing alone, or at least I thought I was, until I noticed her. A woman, maybe 30 yards away, with her back turned to me. Long dark hair shifting slightly in the breeze. Something about the way she stood, perfectly still, almost expectant, sent an unpleasant prickle up the back of my neck. I called out to her. My voice sounded thin in the empty field. She didn't respond. I called again, louder this time. Still nothing. That prickle turned into a slow, crawling discomfort. Why wouldn't she turn around? Why did her silence feel like a deliberate insult? Finally, she turned. She was smiling. Not a polite smile. A soft, genuine one that reached her eyes. And I hated it. I hated her. The feeling hit me so hard and so fast that it left me breathless. I didn't know her name. I didn't know her face from anywhere in my waking life. Yet looking at her filled me with a venom I couldn't explain. Was it envy? Resentment for something she represented? Some buried slight I'd never named? I couldn't tell. I just knew I wanted that smile gone. Stop smiling, I said. The words came out sharp, ugly, the bitchiest tone I could summon. And she did. The smile faded. Her face went neutral, almost blank. For one fleeting second, I felt a rush of satisfaction. Good. That's better. but the feeling dissolved almost immediately, leaving something hollow and sour in its place. She simply turned her back on me again and walked away. The unpleasant sensation returned, heavier now, like a stone settling in my gut. I stood there, alone in the field, wondering why I felt worse than before. Then the scene shifted, the way dreams do. I was suddenly in a small town square. Old stone buildings leaned in around us. A small crowd had gathered, maybe 20 or 30 people. The air smelled of damp earth and something sharper, like fear or anticipation. The same woman stood in the center, hands tied behind her back. Her clothes were torn and dirty. Her face bore fresh bruises and dried blood at the corner of her mouth. She looked like she had already been through hell, and yet none of us felt sorry for her. I scanned the faces around me. They all wore the same expression I felt on my own, cold disgust. No one spoke, but the collective judgment was deafening. She had done something. I didn't know what, and I didn't care enough to ask. Whatever it was, she deserved this. I could be kind. I could walk away. Or I could be cruel. The power was intoxicating because she had no choice but to take it. She was powerless. As I stared, she slowly lifted her head and looked directly at me. Her expression was unreadable, tired, maybe resigned, maybe something else. Whatever it was, I didn't like it. That same unpleasant feeling surged back, now mixed with hot anger. How dare she make me feel this way? Even now, tied and broken, she still managed to unsettle me. It was infuriating, and in that moment, I was certain she knew exactly what she was doing. My body moved before my mind caught up. I bent down, fingers closing around a rough stone on the ground. It was cold and heavy in my palm. I straightened, drew my arm back, and threw it with everything I had. I never saw if it hit her, because I woke up. My bedroom was dark and quiet. I lay on top of the blankets, staring at the ceiling, heart still racing from the dream. The venom, the disgust, the righteous anger, all of it had evaporated like smoke. What remained was something far heavier. Guilt. Raw, nauseating guilt. I tried to shake it off, telling myself it was only a dream, just neurons firing randomly. But the guilt clung to me like damp clothes after rain. I turned onto my side, hoping sleep would take me again without the nightmares. That's when I noticed the silhouette in the corner. A woman, long hair, perfectly still. At first I thought it was my mind playing tricks, residual images from the dream. I blinked hard. She didn't vanish. Instead, she began moving toward the bed. Slow, deliberate steps. My chest tightened. I tried to turn my head to follow her, but my body refused. Sleep paralysis. I'd had it before, but never like this. Never with the dream bleeding so seamlessly into reality. My heart hammered against my ribs. This is how she must have felt, I thought. Powerless. Exposed. The guilt twisted deeper. I wanted to apologize. I wanted to tell her I was sorry for the field, for the square, for the stone in my hand. But no sound came out. My tongue lay thick and useless in my mouth. She reached the edge of the bed. I felt the mattress dip slightly as she climbed on. Then her hand rested on my upper leg. It wasn't warm. It wasn't cold. It simply was a weight with no temperature. No fingernails that I could feel, yet I imagined them pressing in. Her long hair brushed against my right leg, then my left, like wet strands of seaweed. I finally managed to move my arms, though my neck remained locked in place. I reached out with my right hand, grabbed a fistful of her hair, and pulled. Nothing. No strength. It was like pushing against a wall. I pushed with both hands. She didn't budge. In one final, desperate effort, I forced my head to turn, and I saw her. the same long hair as in the dream, but her skin was deathly pale, almost translucent. I could see the faint outline of bones beneath, cheekbones, jaw, the delicate structure of her skull. Her eyes were dark hollows. She moved with a fluid, unnatural grace, crawling up my body like a spider, joints bending in ways that didn't feel human. Terror like I had never known flooded every cell in my body. I squeezed my eyes shut, every muscle straining, every thought screaming the same command. Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! I did. Morning light filtered through the half-closed blinds. I was properly under the covers this time, sheets twisted around my legs. My heart was still racing. Sweat soaked my shirt and the pillow beneath my head. The woman was gone. The room was empty except for the familiar mess of my life. Clothes on the chair, half-empty glass of water on the nightstand, the faint hum of traffic outside. But the guilt remained. I sat up slowly, rubbing my face with trembling hands. I couldn't remember the last time a dream had followed me this far into the day. Who was she? Why did my mind conjure such hatred for a stranger, only to punish me with her presence afterward? Was she a stand-in for someone I'd heard in real life? A version of myself I couldn't forgive? Or just the mind's way of showing me how easily cruelty can bloom when we stop seeing people as people? I don't have the answers yet. All I know is that some nights, when the room is dark and quiet, I still catch myself glancing toward the corner. And I wonder if she's still there, waiting for me to understand what I did. A normal-looking guy at Dulles Airport made my body scream run. He never threatened us, but I've never been more terrified. I've always rolled my eyes at those trust your gut posts online. They sound like vague self-help nonsense, until your body screams at you in a way your mind can't explain. 6 months ago, at Dulles Airport, a total stranger triggered something in me so deep and primal that I still replay it when I can't sleep. It was one of those brutal red-eye flights from the West Coast back to the East Coast. My husband Alex and I, both exhausted, eyes gritty, brains fuzzy from too little sleep and recycled air, landed just after sunrise. The terminal felt like a limbo zone. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the smell of stale coffee and cleaning solution, announcements crackling every few minutes. We grabbed our bags and headed out, but the arrivals pickup area downstairs was the usual Dulles disaster. Cars stacked up, horns honking, people yelling into phones. We'd been through this before. Let's go upstairs to departures, Alex said. It's always faster up there. The cold morning air hit us like a slap when we stepped outside. Sharp, clean, almost refreshing after hours trapped inside metal tubes. We leaned against the concrete barriers near the curb, the kind that separate pedestrians from traffic. Alex called his mom, who was driving up from Potomac to get us. Traffic was heavy, she said. 20, maybe 30 minutes. We settled in to wait. That's when he appeared. At first glance, he was completely unremarkable. Late 20s or early 30s, the kind of guy you'd see in any Northern Virginia tech office. Clean-shaven, neat fleece vest over a collared shirt, AirPods in one ear, a small backpack slung over his shoulder. His nails looked a little dirty, but nothing that stood out. He could have been an engineer heading to a meeting or a traveler killing time. He walked right up to us with an easy smile. "Hey, man, nice jacket," he said to Alex, nodding at the dark green puffer he was wearing. Alex, friendly as always, smiled back. "Thanks." The guy turned to me. "Yours too. Looks warm." I gave an awkward little laugh. "Thanks. You too. Your vest, I mean." His outfit was generic, the kind you buy at REI or Target, but I was trying to be polite. He smiled wider, but there was a sarcastic edge in his voice. I'm sure you do. It was subtle, just a half second of something off in the tone. But conversations with strangers at airports are usually shallow, so we rolled with it. He asked where we were headed. We told him we were staying with family nearby for a few days. He nodded, then started talking about his own family. Except every comment carried this bitter, self-deprecating twist. Family's supposed to matter, right? He said with a short laugh that didn't reach his eyes. Doesn't always work out that way. Friends either. None of it really does in the end. Alex and I exchanged a quick glance. We tried to keep it light, nodding, saying generic things like, yeah, life can be tough sometimes. The kind of small talk you make when you're stuck waiting and don't want to be rude. But then the atmosphere changed. I can't explain it without sounding dramatic, but it was like the air itself thickened. A cold shiver ran straight down my spine, spreading across my shoulders and arms. My stomach tightened. My heart rate spiked. Not normal anxiety, but something older, deeper, primal. Every instinct I had was suddenly screaming, get away. Now, the man's face hadn't changed much. He was still talking in the same casual tone, but his eyes were different. The way he looked at us, it was like he was imagining hurting us. There was this raw, contained anger behind them, something hungry and wrong that hadn't been there 30 seconds earlier. I noticed details I'd missed before. No suitcase, just that small backpack. He'd mentioned coming off a long flight, but he had nothing that looked like real luggage. He shifted his weight slightly, and I caught myself cataloging escape routes in my head. The doors back into the terminal, the distance to other people, the cars moving slowly along the curb. He said it so casually it almost slipped past. I don't have a home right now. Alex kept the conversation going. Bless him. He's always been better at staying polite under pressure. But I was done. My body was in full fight or flight. I needed distance without setting this guy off. I've got to hit the bathroom real quick, I told Alex, keeping my voice even. I turned and walked back through the sliding doors, down the ramp toward arrivals. My legs felt shaky. Behind me, I heard the guy say, almost amused, "Oh, the bathroom, huh?" Once I was inside and out of sight, I pulled out my phone with trembling hands and called Alex. "You need to come inside right now," I said, trying to sound calm. Something is seriously wrong with that guy. Through the phone, I heard the stranger's voice clearly. "Oh, is that your friend? Tell him to come back out." Alex handled it smoothly. A few polite words, "Nice meeting you, man." And then the guy's reply, cold and mocking, "Yeah, I'm sure you really mean that." That tone, it landed like ice water down my back. A minute later, Alex came around the corner. The second I saw him, relief hit me so hard my knees almost buckled. Before I could say anything, he looked at me and said quietly, "No, I get it." That felt really fucking scary. He'd felt it too. The same shift, the same wrongness. We stayed inside the terminal after that, hovering near security where there were more people and cameras. When Alex's mom finally pulled up, we practically ran to the car. She was all smiles and excitement. "How was the flight? You two look tired." Completely unaware she'd just become our safe harbor. As we loaded the bags and pulled away, I started talking too fast, adrenaline still flooding my system, trying to explain what had just happened. But the more I described it, the more ridiculous it sounded. He never threatened us, never raised his voice, never followed us. Just a slightly awkward conversation with a stranger who made a couple of weird comments. And yet my body had reacted like we were in immediate danger. As we drove out of the airport loop, I looked out the window and saw him again. He was sitting alone on a bench further down, staring straight ahead. He didn't turn his head, He didn't need to. The memory of those eyes stayed with me the whole ride. To the man outside Dulles that morning, I don't know what your story was. I don't know if you were having the worst day of your life, or if something darker lived behind that normal face. But whatever it was, my body recognized it before my brain could make sense of it. And because of that, we walked away. I still think about you when I'm in airports. I still scan faces a little more carefully. And I've stopped rolling my eyes at trust your gut. Sometimes your gut is the only thing keeping you safe.